Hey, this is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. Our third episode this week, we go over the great show in Atlanta that Xfinity and Cup put down at the superspeedway of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Storylines going into the weekend: Xfinity, those Richard Childress Racing Xfinity cars have just been lights out in Atlanta. And that starts with Austin Hill, who since 2022 has won 5 times at the Xfinity level in Atlanta. Just insane stats. Can he get the sweep after winning there in February, or will he be stopped? Cup Series, after Christopher Bell won here in the second race of the season in February, a lot has happened since then. This is also the first race of a 5 in-season bracket challenge, matching 32 drivers in head-to-head matchups, and the best finishing position between the two will advance. How will this affect the racing? Interview with driver of the 10 Chevy for Colleague Racing, Ty Dillon. Yellow flag, green flag, discussions with Dave, predictions for Chicago, and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. If you're planning on being in Cranford for the Firecracker 4-miler and the Magical Travel Fun Run, please be sure to check out Dave's booth in Nomahegan Park. Don't forget to follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Now for the Xfinity Series recap from Atlanta. After the qualifying on Friday afternoon, Sheldon Creed would win the pole, followed by Atlanta Xfinity ace Austin Hill, making up the front row for the Friday night race. Once the green flag dropped, Creed would be able to clear for the lead, with Hill following. Connor Zilisch would settle into the third spot. First yellow for incident would occur early on lap 4, with a wreck involving Blaine Perkins, Christian Eckes, Parker Retzlaff, William Sawalich, and Josh Williams. Bad break early for those drivers. Creed and Hill restart up front. Creed again prevails on the outside lane. Connor Zilisch, with the push on Creed, clears Hill for control of the second spot. Jesse Love battles past teammate of Austin Hill and moves into third. A couple laps later, Hill would fade back to the 11th spot as he battles fuel pressure issues and continues to fall. Sam Mayer would work his way past Jesse Love for the third spot. On lap 34, the yellow would fly again, this time for lightning in the area. This would result in a red flag that would last over an hour. Once the red flag was lifted back to yellow, many, including leaders of Creed and Zilisch, would pit. Sam Mayer and Taylor Gray would restart up front with 5 laps to go in stage 1, but they wouldn't even make it a lap, as Jesse Love would spin through the field, collecting Sheldon Creed, Sammy Smith, Catherine Legg, Jeb Burton, and several others. Taylor Gray goes on to win stage 1 as it ends under yellow. Connor Zilisch and Carson Kapol start up front to begin the second stage. After battling side by side for several laps, Connor Zilisch would take the top spot. Next yellow would fly on lap 68 when Nick Sanchez would go spinning after contact with Matt DiBenedetto. Zilisch and DiBenedetto on the restart. After a big push from Kapol, they would both pass DiBenedetto for first and second. The yellow would fly again on lap 81 as Harrison Burton gets contact by Leland Honeyman, sending Harrison spinning. Some would pit and some would stay out. Carson Kapol and Brandon Jones restart up front. Yet again, another yellow, this time for Jeremy Clements, going spinning after contact with Brennan Poole. Brendan Jones wins the second stage under yellow, followed by Jesse Love and Carson Kapol. Taylor Gray and Eric Almirola start up front for the third and final stage. After battling door to door, Almirola would clear for the lead, Gray in second and Sam Mayer in third. The first yellow of the final stage occurred with 37 to go as CJ McLaughlin spins off turn 4. Many would pit under that yellow. Nick Sanchez and Connor Zilich are the first two out of the pits. Almirola and Sam Mayer restart up front on the following restart. Eric would clear for the lead as Taylor Gray and Nick Sanchez follow Almirola for second and third. 4 laps later, the yellow would fly as Mason Maggio slows on the backstretch with debris on the track. 23 laps to go, Almirola and Sanchez on the restart. Sanchez and Almirola would battle for several laps, with Sanchez prevailing to the top spot. Jesse Love would get a big push and get past Almirola and start the battle Sanchez for the lead. 12 laps to go, Nick Sanchez would jump out front in front of Jesse Love, but a lap later, the yellow would fly yet again for debris. The pack would restart with 7 laps to go, led by Sanchez and Jesse Love. Nick would get the jump and Carson Capole would move past Jesse Love for second. 3 laps to go, it would be Sanchez, Capole, and Almirola in third. Eric would try to make a pass on Carson Capole, but it wouldn't happen. Sanchez would keep it out front and win just by over 1/10 of a second over Carson Capole. Congratulations to Big Machine Racing and, of course, Nick Sanchez on his first Xfinity Series win. Now for trivia question time. 2 questions on this episode. First, who won the inaugural street race course in Chicago back in 2023? Second question, who has the most Firecracker 400 wins when they used to run the second Daytona race on July 4th? Answers coming at the end. Now for the Cup Series recap. The Big Show Saturday night special underneath the lights from Atlanta. It was filled with fireworks. After qualifying, Joey Logano would be the fastest, followed by Josh Berry, making up the front row. Once the green flag would drop, Logano would get a big push from his teammate Ryan Blaney and jump out to the lead in front of Berry, as Austin Cindric settles into the third spot with Blaney in fourth. Big mover early was the 77 of Carson Hocevar, who was up 21 positions by lap 22. First yellow of the race would occur on lap 36 for weather. The red flag would come out, but only for 15 minutes. Logano and Cindric restart on the front row. They would race side by side with Austin Cindric, eventually getting the top spot. Brad Keselowski and Hocevar would work themselves up to second and third. Next yellow would fly with 4 laps left in the first stage as Christopher Bell would go spinning, collecting Ryan Blaney, AJ Allmendinger, and Austin Dillon. Austin Cindric would win stage 1 under caution. Chase Elliott and Chris Buescher on the restart, but they did not even make it a lap into stage 2. The big one happened. Elliott would clear for the lead. On the backstretch, John Hunter Nemechek and Denny Hamlin, battling for the 8th spot, make contact. John Hunter bounces off the wall as Denny spins through the field, triggering the big one and collecting 25 other cars. Pure mayhem. There was so many wrecked out cars, there was a traffic jam with tow trucks and wrecked out cars in the garages after. The red flag would have to come out for 10 minutes for the cleanup. Just craziness. I watched the replay over 10 times. Buescher and Ty Gibbs on the following restart. Gibbs would get the jump and control the front spot, followed by Chris Buescher. Next yellow would fly on lap 110 as the 35 of Riley Herbst hits the wall and goes spinning. Gibbs and Buescher both pit. Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman lead on the restart. Reddick would have control briefly before Bowman would take the lead. With 21 laps to go in the second stage, Chris Buescher would have a run on the outside lane and he would be door to door with Bowman for several laps. Bowman would prevail with a push from Chase Elliott, who was up to second. 13 to go in stage 2. Georgia's own Chase Elliott would jump to the top spot. 6 laps to go. Tyler Reddick moves into second. As the laps continued to count down for stage 2, the two of Elliott and Reddick would be battling hard for the lead. Final lap of the stage, it would be a drag race door to door to the finish line, with Tyler Reddick winning the second stage by 1,000th of a second. Such an exciting way to finish a stage after a wild crash at the beginning of it. Elliott and Buescher restart for the third and final stage on the front row. Chris will get loose, dropping back a couple spots. With a big push from Brad Keselowski, Alex Bowman would reassume the lead. As Keselowski would get past Elliott for second, the yellow would fly as Shane Van Gisbergen goes spinning through the infield. The third stage would be riddled with cautions. 4 more yellows would come out, the last involving Justin Haley. At that point of the race, 36 of the 40 cars have been involved in a crash. That's crazy. Keselowski and Elliott on the restart with 28 laps to go. Brad would get the jump from a push by his teammate Chris Buescher. Elliott falls to 8th. 22 to go. Keselowski and Zane Smith exchange the lead with Brad prevailing. As the laps counted down, Chase Elliott was passing guys left and right back into contention. With 2 to go, he would pass Tyler Reddick for second with Keselowski in his sights. The Atlanta fans would be going nuts rooting for their hometown driver. On the final lap, exiting turn 2, Chase would get past Brad, and Chase Elliott wouldn't look back, winning at his home track of Atlanta Motor Speedway. What an exciting race. Truly had everything. Big crashes, nail-biting stage finishes, and a last lap pass for the win. Quick look back at our predictions we made. Xfinity went with the Richard Childress Xfinity car driven by Jesse Love. Jesse takes it home 6th. Cup Series picked Ryan Blaney. He gets caught up in the craziness and comes in dead last, 40th. Now for yellow flag, green flag. Xfinity yellow. Tough yellow flag early for my good buddy Josh Williams, getting caught up in that wreck early with Sawalich and Parker Reslov. Wanted more after he qualified there 3rd in the spring. Hope he can turn it around. Xfinity, green flag, Nick Sanchez on his first Xfinity win. We've been talking about Nick throughout this year and how strong he's been. Way to grab that win late on Friday night in Atlanta. Cup Series yellow, to everyone's bracket. After that big crash, everyone's bracket was busted, including mine. I only got 2 of the 8 picks correct. Believe there are 0 perfect brackets left, only after week 1 of the 5 race challenge. Cup Series, green flag, not the win he wants, but Brad Keselowski brings it back in second. As he said on the radio, he just didn't have that extra push to put him back out to the front. Hopefully Brad can use this as good momentum as the playoffs draw closer. Now we bring on our next guest driver to the show, someone that was just racing in Atlanta in the Cup Series, Ty Dillon. Here's what Ty had to say. Excited to bring on our next guest, and Denny fans, he just beat your favorite driver in the first round of the Bracket Challenge. We welcome our driver to the show, a driver of the College Racing 10 Chevy in the NASCAR Cup Series, Ty Dillon. Welcome to the show, Ty.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. Before we get into the action from Atlanta, you made your debut with College Racing last year in Richmond. This is your first year full-time with College in the Cup Series. We know the energy those guys and Chris Rice bring to the track. How has it been working with College and crew chief Andrew Dickinson?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. I feel like of all the stops in my career, this has been the most fun and the best team I've been a part of, not only just on track, but off track as well. I feel very supported. The team has a lot of confidence in me, which is just building me stronger each week as a race car driver. And working with Andrew has been super fun this year. I think we're growing each week. We're building confidence in what we're doing. And hopefully we're going to rattle off some good finishes here throughout the rest of the year.
Gotcha. Appreciate you touching on that. You guys unloaded with a lot of speed in Atlanta, qualifying 14th, which was your best qualifying effort since Daytona. How did you and the car feel heading into the race?
I felt good about our car. I think of all the times I've been to Atlanta since this repay, that was probably the best it's ever felt in qualifying as far as handling wise, and obviously I think it was our best result I've ever had qualifying in Atlanta. So I knew we had a little bit of best of both worlds, and I was excited going into the race, and it translated well. Our car was really strong, had a lot of grip, and was able to be aggressive all night, making the moves that we needed to make. I think whether or not Denny was in that crash, we were going to be able to put pressure on him with our performance. And, he's a great driver with a great team. It was going to be tough to keep him back, but we were definitely going to be able to put pressure on him. We were really strong the other night.
Heck yeah. You could see that from TV for sure. Once the green flag dropped, you were on the outside lane to start. You dropped back to the high 20s. You pit after the red flag, after the brief weather delay. There was that wreck with 4 laps to go in stage 1 that collected several drivers and unfortunately your brother Austin. What did you see there, and how are you feeling for the second stage after finishing 20th in the first?
Yeah, we came down. I think we took 2 tires, so we were actually going to probably restart about 13th. And then we had a penalty, so we had to go to the very back before that crash. And we didn't totally avoid it. I hit the wall a little bit, also got into the 43 car as well. Had some pretty large damage on our car, but luckily the suspension was intact. And there wasn't much to see. It was all smoke for me and bounced off a couple things, but our car drove good coming out of it. And was able to capitalize on it, and we were really solid from that point on.
Yeah, we saw the craziness that started at the beginning of stage 2. That was the biggest wreck I've seen in a little while. Kind of crazy to have back-to-back wrecks there. You were towards the back of the pack there. I'm not sure if you were talking about this one, what you were just going over, but you slid briefly at some minor contact. Not sure exactly what you saw in front of you besides just smoke, but it looked like the car was pretty clean, and you finished the second stage 6. How was the car feeling?
Yeah, no, yeah, like I said, I went through the crash, and hit the wall a little bit, hit the 43 car, and it felt a little bit more than minor contact. It was a good little smack there off both of them, but our car was still strong. The good thing is the car handled great, and we were able to be aggressive, drive up through the field a couple times. We had even another penalty that sent us to the back and came from the back to the front once more. And we had trouble kind of breaking through those top 4 cars. I think if we could ever done that, we would have had a shot at contending for the win. But really proud of our run and the way that we came after in attacked Atlanta.
Gotcha. That was an absolute show you and your fellow drivers put on in stage 3 with very exciting racing. We saw you restart and run both the inside and outside lanes and looking strong on both. Did see that 3-wide finish in person last year, showing us that the next-gen car can run multiple lanes in Atlanta. Did you have any preference between the high or low lane on Saturday night?
Our car handled a little bit better on the low lane most of the night, but there were opportunities, I'd say, in the middle part of the race when it's still hot out a little bit, where our car was really strong, running right next to the wall, especially in turn 3 and 4. So it was good. It's become a track that you can move all around and adapt to what your car needs for your line, but also you can be aggressive and take some positions by going in lanes that people won't use.
Gotcha. Did the car change throughout a longer run with the tire wear, or how is it feeling on a longer run?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more heat induced, which makes the tire fall off. Not as much wear that we see, a little bit on the right sides, but just heat in the tires making it fall off. The track surface is getting a little worn out, and I think that's what's providing such good racing.
Okay, gotcha. I really appreciate you touching on that. You bring it home 8th, which is your best finish this season. Congratulations on that. And, of course, the win over Denny in the bracket. Loved your post-race interview, and it was very cool how Denny appreciated as well on his podcast this week. Was a little bit skeptical of the bracket format, but after the first race, I thought it was awesome. As a driver, do you think the head-to-head matchups had any effect on the racing? And how did you feel leaving Atlanta?
I'm not sure, but I think we're all competitors, so we're always wanting to beat anything that we're up against in racing, and that could have been a little bit of the reason for such aggressive racing from start to finish the other night. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the future, but I think it's fun. I think it's accomplished exactly what we wanted to with a head-to-head bracket. There's been a little bit of trash talk, which has been fun, but I think it's given something extra to our fans, and for us, we're excited about it. Hopefully we'll go out and knock Brad out this week in Chicago and get one step closer to $1 million.
Heck yeah.
leads right into my question. Next round is the Chicago Street Course. You match up against Brad Keselowski. The first time you traveled out to Chicago in the Spire 77, your day didn't go as planned. We know Kala can bring a rocket ship to the road courses. Both times going to the downtown circuit, Brad finished outside the top 15th. Any parts of the course you're looking out for, and how are you going to finish ahead of Keselowski?
I think the whole course there is going to be tricky. It's just such narrow gaps and not a lot of room for mistakes. And add on it that I don't think we've raced there successfully yet without rain. So for us, it's managing our race, taking care of ourselves, and improving from start to finish. I think we do all those things right. We'll find ourselves in a great spot to put a lot of pressure on Brad and his team, and hopefully advance to the next round.
Yeah, we'll be rooting for you for sure. Can't wait for that on Sunday. Last question. Of the tracks remaining on the schedule, Daytona holds the best average finish for you. I know you are focusing all your effort every weekend on the race ahead. Any specific track you're looking forward to on the remaining schedule?
All of them, man. I think all of them are an opportunity for us. I don't look at any of them as a negative and something that you don't want to be a part of. I think opportunities in front of us. It's just about us going out there and getting stronger each week. And there's certainly ones that we've had success at already this year that you look forward to, but I don't think there's one that we overlook to get to the next. I'm excited for what's coming.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for your time, Ty, and we'll be watching you on Chicago this Sunday. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good one.
What a blast talking to Ty. Really cool to hear what he saw going through that wreck there and how he came out to the 8th place finish on Saturday night. Appreciate his time. Now for this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. First topic, bracket busted in Atlanta. As we've been mentioning, this is the first time that NASCAR has ever done anything like this bracket tournament-wise, putting drivers head-to-head matched up against each other. When picking the bracket, totally did have that March Madness feeling. And if you ever done a bracket for March Madness, you always pick the 1 seeds over the 16 seeds. So of course, I think everybody picked the number 1 seeded Denny Hamlin to beat the 32nd seed Ty Dillon. And as we were just talking to Ty and going over in the race recap, Ty went on to upset and beat Denny. Of course, this is racing and anything can happen, just what we saw, a bunch of guys wrecked out and that flipped everyone's bracket. Was just saying how I was skeptical about this. I cannot wait for Chicago with this tournament going in right now. It's exciting, and you're not just necessarily paying attention to the leaders, you're paying attention to some of these head-to-head matchups as well. Now for our bracket predictions for Chicago. We were just talking about it, the Ty Dillon, Brad Keselowski matchup. Just went over Keselowski's stats. That colleague team is going to bring a fast car to the street course. Give me Ty Dillon. Alex Bowman, Bubba Wallace. Bowman won here last year. Give me Bowman. John Hunter Nemechek, Chase Elliott. Last weekend's winner, Elliott, is also really strong on the road courses. Give me Chase. Now an interesting one. Eric Jones and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I think both of these guys match up pretty evenly. But give me Ricky. Carson Hocevar, Tyler Reddick. Really should be a good one too. I think Reddick edges Hocevar out in Chicago. AJ Allmendinger, Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs has won road courses at the Xfinity level, and we know what AJ brings to road and street courses. Really a toss-up. Could go either way. But with the way Gibbs has been racing recently and his performance in Mexico, give me Ty Gibbs. Zane Smith, Chris Buescher. Zane could beat Buescher on this one. Wouldn't be overly surprised, but give me Chris Buescher. I think he makes it happen in the 17. They've been strong recently. Next topic on Discussions with Dave. Rick Ware Racing sold to Spire. Charter leasing? One of the founders of Spire Motorsports has entered an agreement to purchase the NASCAR team owned by Rick Ware and is jumping back into stock car racing because he believes the current charter system is grossly undervalued. TJ Putcher who alongside Jeff Dickerson in 2018 launched the Spire team to take over the charter from Furniture Row Racing. Putcher went on to say, "I am bullish on wanting to build a 3-car team. I believe in the France family and the direction of the sport, and I want the rest of the shareholders and industry to know that I believe the charters are worth $75 million or more," he said to Associated Press. In his deal with Rick Ware, Putcher will keep Ware on board as a partner, but also keep Ware's son, Cody, the driver of the 51 Ford, and retain all of the current Rick Ware Racing employees. Ware's current second charter is leased to Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, but Legacy Motor Club made a legal claim that had entered an agreement to buy that charter next season. Now, Putcher and Ware are confident that the second charter currently being leased to RFK will be returned to their team in 2027, allowing Putcher to expand the organization. He wants to buy a third charter to have a 3-car team, as he was saying. There has been so many different opinions and legal actions made with this charter system recently. Front Row Racing and of course 2311 are entangled in that lawsuit with NASCAR on the charter system. And this is from the other end of the spectrum. You have TJ Putcher, who says the charter system is great and I think it's going in the right direction, and he invests the money and buys Rick Ware Racing. Wanted to touch upon that. Do think it's very interesting and great for the sport to have TJ back in it. Next topic, meaning of Chase Elliott's win in Atlanta in front of the hometown crowd. Chase's win on Saturday night was his first win of 2025 and locks himself into the playoffs. Going into Atlanta, Chase really not in a must-win situation before the playoffs. Point-wise, he was sitting pretty good, and if he didn't get a win in the regular season, he probably would have pointed himself in. But he forgoes that and gets it done in Atlanta Saturday night, getting through all the carnage to win at his hometown track of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Chase is from Dawsonville, Georgia. When I was in Atlanta last year, boy, those fans for number 9 truly come out in droves. You could see it on the TV. They panned to the fans toward the end of the race. They were going nuts, rooting on their driver of Elliott. Great for the sport to have the most popular driver win at his hometown track. Way to go, Chase. Now, our last topic on Discussions with Dave this episode was announced Tuesday that Daniel Suarez will not be returning to Trackhouse Racing in 2026. I was surprised by this, but then you think about it, I was even more surprised when Pitbull left Trackhouse Racing as a partner ahead of this season. And Pitbull and Daniel Suarez have that connection. Daniel has won twice with Trackhouse in Sonoma on the road course, and last year, of course, in that crazy 3-wide finish in Atlanta. Daniel is a great personality and a great driver. Going to be intriguing to see where he lands for next season and what level that will be at. Hope he stays in the Cup Series. Now that brings us, who is going to fill Suarez's spot for next year? Is that going to be a Connor Zilisch hopping up to the Cup Series or someone else? We'll find out in the upcoming months and off-season. Now for NASCAR history time. Chicago's NASCAR connections. With NASCAR going to the street course in downtown Chicago again, wanted to touch upon the history of NASCAR in the Chicago area, plus drivers that hail from there locally. No one more fitting to start off with than Fred Lorenzen, nicknamed the Elmhurst Express after his hometown in the Chicago suburbs. Lorenzen earned 26 victories in what is now the Cup Series. He began his racing on the tight quarter-mile track at the now closed O'Hare Stadium, not far from his home. His accomplishments on the track earned him a place in NASCAR's Hall of Fame in 2015. Chicago native Tiger Tom Pistone was a standout in NASCAR's early years, claiming 2 Cup Series wins in the '59 season. Over his career, he made 130 starts, Before his national success, Pistone was a champion driver at Chicago's historic Soldier Field, now known as the home of the Chicago Bears. Bill Venturini and his racing family have deep roots in Chicago. While he made occasional appearances at the Cup Series, Venturini found greater success in the ARCA Menard Series, where he earned 12 victories, and his legacy continues with family-run Venturini Motorsports. The Chicago area has also hosted a variety of racing venues over the year, including the Flat Oval at Soldier Field. While the stadium regularly featured motorsports events, it held just one NASCAR Cup Series race, a 100-mile, 200-lap event in '56, won by Hall of Famer Fireball Roberts. NASCAR was also a regular presence at Chicagoland Speedway, located just south of the city in Joliet, Illinois. The mile-and-a-half track opened in '01 and hosted events across all three NASCAR National Series, as well as ARCA. From 2011 to 2017, Chicagoland served as the opening race of the NASCAR playoffs. The city embraced the festivities with NASCAR industry events taking place throughout the downtown, highlighted in 2012 when Chicago's iconic Loudgate sculpture provided the backdrop of the official playoff photo. And that was this episode's edition of NASCAR History Time. Now the drivers to look out for the Chicago Street Course, Xfinity. When it comes to road and street courses at the Xfinity level, we start with rookie Connor Zilisch. Can the 88 be victorious in the streets of Chicago? Shane Van Gisbergen joins the number 9 Junior Motorsports Xfinity car for Saturday's race. He will be the favorite. Daniel Suarez won the Mexico City Xfinity race in the number 9 car, so we know they can bring a fast one to the road courses. A driver we talked to in Lime Rock, finished 15th in Mexico, is Canadian driver Alex Labbe. Can he crack the top 10? Kaz Grala and Josh Bilicki are two other drivers with solid backgrounds on road courses. What can they do? Moving back to the full-time Xfinity drivers, Sam Mayer in the Haas Factory 41 should be a contender. Cole Custer won in that car in 2023 in the inaugural Xfinity race in the street circuit. Taylor Gray in the 54 Joe Gibbs car was second in Mexico. Think he will be focused and ready to go in Chicago. Australian supercar driver Jack Perkins will make his Xfinity debut in Chicago. Can he make a splash? Now, drivers look out for Chicago Cup Series. Last year in Chicago, there was some top talent on the DNF list. The three of Kyle Larson, AJ Allmendinger, and of course, Shane Van Gisbergen will be turning it around. All three of them should be contenders come Sunday. Last year's winner, Alex Bowman, is looking to keep the momentum going. Expect him to be in the top 10. Can he crack the top 5? Chase Elliott is always a force on the road courses. Can he go back-to-back after winning last Saturday in Atlanta? Australian supercar driver Will Brown will be driving the 13 for Colleague in this one. Cole Custer won here in 2023 in that Xfinity car. He had the best finish of his season in Mexico. Can he bring it again in Chicago? Also, look out for Michael McDowell and Tyler Reddick to be working their way up front as well. Now for Fast Davies bets. Xfinity, give me a top 3 for Sam Mayer. That should be a good one. Cup Series, Cam Smith should have good odds too. Give me a top 3 for AJ Allmendinger. Predictions for the Chicago Street Race. Xfinity, think the race is going to come down between Connor Zilisch and Van Gisbergen. Maybe Jack Perkins gets in the mix. Think things will stack out in Zilich's favor and he scores the win. Cup Series. Everyone had Shane Van Gisbergen penciled in to win last year's edition of the Chicago Street Race, but he got wiped out. Believe there will be no one stopping him this year, and he gets his second win of the season in Chicago. Now for trivia answer time. 2 questions on this episode. First, who won the inaugural street race in Chicago back in 2023. We just were going over a layup on this one for you NASCAR fans. Shane Van Gisbergen. Second question, who had the most Firecracker 400 wins when they used to run the second Daytona race on July 4th? Answer, Hall of Famer David Pearson stands out with 5 Firecracker 400 victories. First in 1961, then 72, 73, 74, and his 5th coming in 1978. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. If you're going to be in Cranford for the Firecracker 4-mile race and the Disney Dave Fun Run, please check out Dave's booth in Nomahegan Park. Make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Hope everyone has a great 4th of July weekend with their friends and family. Should be some great racing in Chicago as well. Till next time, everybody, Splash of Gas out.